all those people who thought I was funny are silly and wrong, and you've got a better take on
And then
it.
I argued for about 20 minutes till I was at least red in the face. I think it may have been blue.
He doesn't hold grudges. He holds memories. Sharp ones. Mel Brooks remembers every actor who fumbled a line, ignored a note, or walked on set thinking they were bigger than the movie. And once you're on that list, you don't come off it. For over 60 years, Mel Brooks built empires from lunacy. From Blazing Saddles to Young Frankenstein, he redefined comedy with one rule: control the chaos. Behind every wild performance was precision, timing, and, above all else, trust. And when that trust broke, Brooks didn't yell, he didn't rant, he simply erased you. Quietly, permanently. No dramatic blow-ups, no public call-outs, just gone. Some actors never got invited back. Others never even made it through the door. The reasons ranged from bruised egos to broken rhythms, and in Mel Brooks's world, those sins were unforgivable. These are the 6 actors Mel Brooks never forgave, or never let in to begin with. Number 1. Zero Mostel. Zero Mostel was a comedy titan, a whirlwind of physicality, wit, and theatre-trained energy. On paper, he was perfect for the producers. In reality, he almost derailed the entire shoot. Brooks adored Mostel's talent, but quickly discovered that working with him meant bracing for chaos of the wrong kind. Mostel argued constantly, challenged every line, and believed his comedic instincts overrode the script. He was notorious for ignoring blocking, riffing through scenes, and intimidating co-stars, including a young Gene Wilder. The friction hit a boiling point when Mostel threatened to quit mid-production over creative differences. Brooks, who ran his sets like finely tuned machines, was forced to navigate emotional minefields daily. While the final product was brilliant, the experience left scars. Brooks reportedly said working with Mostel cost him years of his life. There was no official ban, but after the producers, Mostel's name was never attached to another Brooks project again. Not because he lacked talent, but because Brooks couldn't survive a second round. In Mel's world, unpredictability belonged in the script, not in the dressing room. And with Mostel, the off-camera chaos was just too much to control. The performance may have won awards, but the relationship never recovered. Number 2. Frank Langella. Some actors lose roles. Frank Langella lost the director. When Brooks developed Dracula, Dead and Loving It, Langella seemed like the obvious choice. He'd already conquered Broadway as Dracula, tall, charismatic, and commanding. But Brooks wasn't making gothic tragedy. He wanted chaos in a cape, spit takes, pratfalls, and punchlines wrapped in fog. Langella walked onto set like he was performing Hamlet. He resisted improvisation, delivered lines like Holy Scripture, and killed every gag with his solemn presence. Brooks gave notes, gentle nudges, even rewrote lines to match Langella's style, but nothing landed. During a read-through, Brooks handed Langella a twisty punchline. Langella paused and asked, "Do you want me to mock the text?" Brooks reportedly replied, "No, I want you to survive it." That was it. By the end of the week, Langella was gone. No public announcement, just a quiet replacement, Leslie Nielsen, who understood the balance of straight delivery in a storm of absurdity. Nielsen could play it serious while still dancing with the chaos. Langella, for all his gravitas, couldn't adapt, and Mel Brooks didn't have time to teach comedy to someone who didn't want to play. Officially, the reason was creative differences. Unofficially, Langella got swallowed by the very atmosphere Brooks thrived in. And in Mel's world, if you couldn't roll with the madness, you didn't belong in the frame. Number 3. Gene Wilder. Some betrayals come from strangers. Mel Brooks's most painful one came from a friend. Gene Wilder wasn't just another actor. He was Brooks's artistic soulmate. Together, they reshaped the language of comedy. From the producers to Young Frankenstein, their synergy was electric. Brooks trusted Wilder with half-written scenes and characters still forming. Gene always found the heartbeat. But after Young Frankenstein, that trust cracked. Wilder had written a new script, The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes's Smarter Brother. He wanted to star, direct, and have Brooks produce. Brooks said no, not because it wasn't funny, but because, in his words, Gene wasn't ready to direct. He thought he was. I knew he wasn't. Wilder saw that as betrayal. Instead of a mentor, Brooks had become a roadblock. Wilder moved forward without him, assembling a familiar cast: Marty Feldman, Madeline Kahn. but the magic was off. Brooks felt the sting of abandonment, and for years, they didn't speak. No public feud, just silence where laughter used to live. They eventually reconciled, briefly, at a surprise event. A few laughs, a handshake, but they never worked together again, not out of anger, but disappointment. Brooks once said, "Gene was the only one I trusted with my unfinished thoughts." After Smarter Brother, that trust didn't come back. In Mel's world, once the thread snapped, it stayed frayed. Number 4. Bea Arthur. Before she was Maud, Bea Arthur was a force of nature in New York theatre. Deep voice, razor wit, and a stare that could freeze lava. Brooks knew she was gold. He cast her as Yenta, the matchmaker in Fiddler on the Roof, and wanted her in more. When Blazing Saddles came around, he offered her the role of Lily von Stupp, the German temptress with a whip and a wink. Arthur declined, not out of spite, but because she felt the role was too broad, too bawdy. She wasn't wrong. It was a high-wire act of innuendo and slapstick, but Brooks took the rejection personally. Friends say he felt blindsided. He'd written the part with her in mind, tailored the rhythm and cadence to her voice. When Madeline Kahn stepped in, the role became iconic. Kahn earned an Oscar nomination and Brooks moved on, but Bea Arthur never worked with him again. Some say it was a matter of timing. Others think the rejection lingered, quietly but firmly. Brooks didn't blacklist Arthur, she was never shunned, but the phone stopped ringing. In Mel's world, loyalty mattered. Saying no wasn't a crime, but it echoed louder than most yeses. Number 5. Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase was one of the hottest comedic stars of the 70s and 80s, riding high off Saturday Night Live and Caddyshack. Brooks considered casting him for multiple projects, especially when Spaceballs was in development. Chase had the look, the deadpan delivery, and the cultural heat. But what he didn't have was the humility Brooks needed. Every meeting reportedly turned into a power play. Chase had notes on every joke, wanted script control, and demanded top billing even before roles were finalized. Brooks, who built comedy ensembles that clicked like clockwork, couldn't tolerate the disruption. One insider recalled a pre-production meeting where Chase openly criticized Brooks's dialogue, right in front of the writer's room. That was the end. Mel never cast him. Not once. Not even for a cameo. While other difficult actors got second chances, Chase never got a first. Some say it was ego. Others say it was energy. Brooks's world thrived on rhythm, and Chase brought static. You can be funny, but if you can't listen, or worse, if you can't laugh at yourself, Mel Brooks had no use for you. Number 6. F. Murray Abraham. Fresh off his Oscar-winning performance in Amadeus, F. Murray Abraham was a name on every casting list, including Mel Brooks's. There was talk of a major role in a planned dark comedy that never saw the light of day. But during pre-production meetings, Abraham reportedly clashed with nearly everyone. He questioned the tone, rewrote his own lines without approval, and suggested the film needed a more European sensibility. Brooks, who'd made a career of controlled absurdity, was baffled. Abraham was brilliant, yes, but he treated comedy like opera, dramatic, overwrought, and in need of gravitas. During one test shoot, Abraham allegedly broke character mid-take to argue with the script supervisor. Mel watched in silence, then ended the session early. The film was shelved. Abraham was never called again, not because he wasn't good, but because Brooks saw the storm coming. With Abraham, the intensity came at a cost. Tension, rewrites, and a lack of joy. And in Mel's world, joy was everything. You could challenge him, sure, but if you drained the room before the first laugh, your name went in the drawer, and stayed there. In Mel Brooks's world, laughter was a craft, not a coincidence. He didn't chase chaos, he orchestrated it. Every actor he cast had to serve the rhythm, respect the room, and trust the process. Step out of sync and you didn't get yelled at. You got edited out. Forever. These weren't petty grudges. They were quiet decisions by a man who saw comedy as sacred. The stage was his sanctuary, and only those who played by the unspoken rules were welcome. In the end, Brooks didn't just make people laugh. He made comedy a battlefield where only the disciplined survived. Thanks for watching. If you're still here, you probably love a little drama behind the punchlines, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which actor's story surprised you the most.